I find myself sitting on a couch next to my family. I look around the room and realize I'm at my grandparents' cabin. I look outside to the lake through a screen door and can see the moonlight glistening off the top of the calm water. I redirect my gaze forward again and see the fireplace red and hot. I can feel the warmth of the fire gently radiating over my body. As I stare into the fire, blackness begins encapsulating the oranges and reds. Slowly, everything turned black, but I could still feel a slight breeze brushing against my skin. Suddenly, I'm shoved from behind and tumbled forward. My head hits the ground first, but I barely feel anything, and immediately I can see again. I sit up, rubbing my eyes until they become adjusted to the light. I glance over to where I previously laid and saw a headset split in half. Within seconds, a foot kicks the headset further until it disappears over an edge. I look up to see who kicked it, but sit in horror. There are countless other individuals wearing the same headset. They all appear to be walking in the same direction, unaware of their surroundings. I scan from right to left, trying to understand where I am, but nothing makes sense. There are these old, withered wooden posts that have metal bars attached to them to my left, and a cold stone wall to my right. It takes me merely a second to decide I no longer want to walk down this dark, ominous path. I begin walking against the coming waves of people. After walking for what felt like hours, Marcus found himself still on the same path, but at a point with advantage from where he came. He was able to look through the metal bars and see the giant spiral with a large structure directly in the middle. Content with his choice to not continue down the drain, he continues walking in the opposing direction. Eventually, he comes to a point where he stands beneath a bridge that appears to reach to the heavens. As he inspects the different legs, he notices pegs sticking out. This presented an opportunity for Marcus, and without hesitation, he begins climbing. Unsure of where this path would bring him, Marcus concluded it would be better than the previous. This was a hard and lonely path that he had chosen, but nevertheless, he pushed on. As I came to the last pegs, my heart was pounding like a drum. My muscles weak of exhaustion, and with the last little bit of strength in me, I put my hand on the top ledge to pull myself up. I lay for a couple minutes, panting like a dog without water. After I had regained my breath and had some time to rest, I propped myself up on a cord of the bridge. This gave me a direct view of where I came from. It seemed like a bottomless pit from this high up. I rose to my feet and walked away from the ledge. I now found myself surrounded by more people, but they were different from before. These people did not have headsets on. A man from the crowd emerged, offering his name in hand. I introduced myself to him and asked him where I was. He told me that we're on the path of opportunity. He explained that this bridge brought people to the memory machine. Here within this structure waited rooms with all the memories of the past, a think tank that slows down time, and infinite paths that lead to a greater beyond. The man talked about unlimited knowledge, time, and opportunity. This intrigued me. Without hesitation, I began walking alongside these people over the bridge. Marcus reached the pinnacle of the bridge and saw a colossal core that had the spiral he originally started in surrounding it. Marcus could not stop thinking about the other people that were still down in the spiral. Why did they have headsets on? Who were they? Why was it so difficult to go from one place to the other? What was happening to them? Marcus remembered when the man told him there were rooms filled with all the memories of the past. He figured that if he wanted answers, this is where he would start. Once off the bridge, Marcus stood in front of 4 elevators. He got into the first one, hit the lower level, and approached the memory rooms. As I stepped out of the elevator, I was surrounded by screens that displayed videos, pictures, and books. I slowly began to make my way through the room, and as I walked through, the screens were telling me a story. It was as if the screens knew what questions I was asking in my head, and then gladly showed me the answer. Through walking and watching, I learned that this world was divided into 2 classes. The lower classes having their memories drained by the headsets, and the headsets simulating a paradise to keep them in check. The memory machine then takes those memories and converts them to energy. The higher class then uses this energy to continue expanding their society and enslaving others. They do this without a second thought, in the name of progress. As I reached the edge of the room, I came face to face with a window that gave me a clear view of the lower class walking through the spiral. I couldn't help but feel pitiful for those individuals who were having their essences being drained from them. Not knowing what I could do to help them, I continued on my path in the memory machine. My next destination is a think tank, so I returned to the elevator and proceeded to the top floor. Marcus spent a few days thinking about what had happened, why this happened, where should he go from here. Eventually, he came to the conclusion he would continue on this elevated path so he could have control over his destiny, thus solidifying his path to a greater beyond. Satisfied with this conclusion he came to, he returned to the elevator and pressed the final button. I arrived at a hall that appeared to never end. Openings along the walls allowed light to fill the space. As I began walking down this path, I noticed there were many different rooms that extruded from this hall. Each path seems to have different destinations. Every hall had a handful of people walking down it. Now came the time for me to choose my destiny.